Tate George never became a star in the NBA, but his name did pop back up in headlines decades after he retired, for all the wrong reasons. In 2011, George was arrested and charged with wire fraud. His company, the George Group, was supposedly a real estate investment firm. But instead of using investor funds to build properties or close deals, Tate ran a full-blown Ponzi scheme. He used new investor money to pay off old ones and funded his own lavish lifestyle. Private jets, five-star hotels, you name it. The total damage? Nearly $2 million. Victims included athletes, friends, and business partners who trusted him. In 2013, he was convicted on 4 counts of wire fraud. And in 2016, the hammer came down. 9 years in federal prison, plus restitution and fines. He's since tried to defend himself, calling the verdict unfair. But the court didn't buy it. One of the final nail-in-the-coffin moments? He used prison calls to try and manipulate witnesses. That just made it worse. Once the 11th pick in the 2009 draft, Terrence Williams never quite lived up to the hype on the court. But off the court, he made headlines in 2021 when he was identified as the ringleader of a massive healthcare fraud scheme. Along with 17 other former players, Williams defrauded the NBA's health and welfare benefit plan of nearly $5 million. Fake invoices, forged medical documents, and a web of lies tied together by one man, Terrence himself. He even recruited other players, took kickbacks, and created fake email accounts to impersonate people involved in the billing process. In 2023, he pled guilty and got sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. The court called it a brazen, elaborate scheme. He was ordered to pay $3.1 million in restitution and forfeit over $650,000. The worst part? Williams was already getting child support and disability payments from the NBA. He just wanted more. Shawn Kemp, known as the Rain Man during his dominant days with the Seattle Supersonics, Shawn Kemp's post-career life has been filled with more controversy than highlights. In April 2023, Kemp was arrested for a drive-by shooting incident in Tacoma, Washington. The story was bizarre. Kemp had tracked down people who had allegedly stolen items from his car. When he confronted them, gunfire broke out. Security footage showed Kemp firing a weapon. He claimed self-defense, and after a short investigation, charges were dropped. But the incident raised eyebrows, especially because it wasn't his first brush with the law. Kemp had already been arrested twice in the early 2000s for drug possession, both times involving marijuana and cocaine. While those charges didn't lead to long prison terms, they did stain his reputation. He's since tried to turn things around, even opening cannabis stores legally in Washington. But the shooting incident reminded everyone that the Rain Man still has a volatile edge. Once hyped as the next great New York point guard, Telfair jumped straight from high school to the NBA. But he never became a star, and his life after basketball turned into a slow-moving disaster. In 2017, he was pulled over in Brooklyn. Inside his car, a small arsenal, a bulletproof vest, extended magazines, and multiple loaded guns. He claimed he didn't know they were illegal, but the court didn't buy it. In 2019, he was convicted and sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for criminal possession of a weapon. His courtroom meltdown went viral. He cried, shouted about betrayal, and warned others to avoid making the same mistakes. But that wasn't even the end. In 2023, Telfair filed a lawsuit claiming his own lawyer had scammed him out of millions in NBA earnings. He's now fighting multiple battles, legal, financial, and emotional, all while trying to rebuild a life once full of promise. Known as the Kobe Stopper, Ruben Patterson had a long career as a defensive specialist, but his rap sheet eventually became longer than his stat sheet. In 2000, shortly after signing with the Seattle Supersonics, Patterson was charged with attempted rape. The victim was his family's nanny. He ultimately pled guilty to third-degree attempted rape and was sentenced to 1 year in jail, which was later reduced to 15 days. He was also forced to register as a sex offender. That wasn't his only run-in with the law. He had multiple domestic violence incidents, including assaulting his wife. And in 2010, he was arrested again for failing to comply with sex offender registration requirements. The NBA kept him around for a few more years, but his off-court issues never really went away. Even now, his name is more associated with scandal than lockdown defense. In the 1990s, Isaiah J.R. Rider was known for two things: highlight dunks and off-the-court drama. And that drama never stopped, even after he left the league. In 2007, he was arrested for kidnapping. He allegedly forced a female acquaintance into his car during an argument. He was also charged with battery and possession of a controlled substance. And this was just one of many arrests. Throughout the 2000s, Rider collected a laundry list of charges: domestic violence, drug possession, resisting arrest, and more. At one point, he served time in California for violating probation and for drug-related offenses. Despite his talent, his behavior made him uncoachable. He bounced around the league before fading into obscurity. His legacy is a cautionary tale. Talent means nothing if you can't control yourself off the court. The chaos started at a bowling alley in Hampton, Virginia, in February of 1993. Allen Iverson was just 17 years old at the time, already a standout in both football and basketball. That night, a fight broke out involving dozens of people after someone allegedly hurled a racial slur at Iverson's group. What began as an argument turned into a full-blown brawl, chairs flying, chaos everywhere. And despite the crowd being racially mixed, only Iverson and 3 of his black friends were charged. Prosecutors didn't hold back. They hit them with maiming by mob, a law originally meant to combat lynching. Iverson was tried as an adult. The sentence? 15 years in prison, 10 of which were suspended. He ended up serving 4 months in a correctional facility before being granted conditional clemency by Virginia's governor. Later, the court overturned the conviction, ruling that there just wasn't enough evidence to prove Iverson was trying to seriously injure anyone. Still, the damage was already done. The trial divided the Hampton community and exploded into national headlines. Many saw it as a textbook case of racial injustice. ESPN even made a documentary about it years later. And while Iverson went on to become one of the most iconic players in NBA history, that one night followed him for years. In December of 2009, Crittenton's name first popped up in a now infamous locker room gun incident with Gilbert Arenas. They had a gambling dispute during a team flight. Days later, Arenas brought 4 unloaded guns into the locker room and put them on Crittenton's chair with a note. Crittenton responded by pulling his own loaded weapon. The league suspended both players for the rest of the season, and while Arenas came back, Crittenton never played in the NBA again. Things only got worse. In August of 2011, he was driving through Atlanta and thought he saw a man who had robbed him. He pulled out a gun and fired, but he hit the wrong person: 22-year-old Julian Jones, a mother of 4. Police arrested him later that month in California. In 2013, he was indicted on 12 counts, including murder and gang activity. Crittenton ended up taking a plea deal in 2015, voluntary manslaughter, and aggravated assault. He got 23 years. His cousin got 3 years for helping. And while he was out on bond waiting for sentencing, he was indicted again, this time for conspiring to distribute cocaine and marijuana. He was released in April 2023 under strict probation and has since appeared in a Netflix documentary, using his story as a cautionary tale about crime, gangs, and wasted potential. Valentine's Day, 2002. Former NBA All-Star and New Jersey Nets center Jason Williams had just hosted a charity basketball event. Afterward, back at his mansion in New Jersey, tragedy struck. While showing off his house to a group that included limousine driver Kostas Gus Christofi, Williams picked up a shotgun, and it went off. The shot killed Christofi instantly. In 2004, Williams was acquitted of the most serious charges related to the shooting, but found guilty of trying to cover it up. He later pleaded guilty to aggravated assault and served about 27 months in prison. He was released in 2012, but his legal troubles weren't over. In 2009, he was found drunk and violent in a hotel, requiring a taser to subdue him. A month later, he allegedly punched someone in North Carolina. Then, in 2010, he crashed his car in Manhattan and was charged with driving while intoxicated. That added another year behind bars, 8 months of which he served at Rikers Island. Back in the 90s, he'd already been accused of bar fights and even firing a gun in public. But it was the 2002 incident that forever changed how people saw him. After prison, he tried to reinvent himself, writing books and doing charity work. But the shadow of what happened never went away. In 2009, police pulled West over in Maryland. He was riding a 3-wheeled motorcycle and carrying something much more dangerous. Inside a guitar case, police found 3 loaded guns, a shotgun, and 2 pistols. West pleaded guilty and got probation, community service, and court-ordered counseling. Fast forward to 2021, and his life had unraveled further. He was arrested in Florida after banging on the doors of a police station with open containers of beer and vodka in hand. The charges? Disorderly intoxication and resisting arrest. In 2024, things escalated. Police tried to serve him a warrant in Virginia. He ran, was found unresponsive, and needed 2 doses of Narcan for a suspected opioid overdose. After a hospital stay, he was hit with multiple misdemeanor charges and released on bond. A few months later, he got arrested again, this time for trespassing in a restricted area. All of this is tied to his well-documented struggles with bipolar disorder and substance abuse. Despite past interventions from people like Mark Cuban and multiple rehab stints, West's life continues to spiral. His story isn't just one of crime, it's one of a man grappling with mental health in the public eye. May 9, 2024. Glenn Davis was sentenced to 40 months in federal prison. His crime? Healthcare fraud. Along with several other former NBA players, Davis helped scam the NBA's health and welfare benefit plan out of more than $5 million. The scheme was simple but bold. They submitted fake medical and dental claims for work that never happened. One of the wildest parts? Davis claimed to have undergone dental surgery in Beverly Hills, while in reality, he was flying from Las Vegas to Paris on the exact date. He was found guilty of healthcare fraud, wire fraud, and making false statements. In addition to the prison time, he got 3 years of supervised release, had to pay $80,000, and was ordered into drug treatment and financial education programs. The court even delayed his prison start so he could finish working on a documentary about his life. A documentary the court hoped might actually help him sort out his financial mess. Big Baby played 9 seasons in the NBA and was known for his big personality as much as his game. But now, he's another name on the long list of players whose post-NBA life turned to crime and consequences. On August 9, 2017, Randolph was arrested in Los Angeles after a chaotic night at the Nickerson Gardens housing project. Police were called to the scene to break up a rowdy crowd blasting music and openly using marijuana. But the night took a turn. When officers tried to disperse the crowd, things got ugly. 6 patrol cars were damaged, and Randolph was one of the people detained. He was originally booked for felony possession of marijuana with intent to sell, largely because of the amount he had. But Randolph wasn't trying to be a street dealer. He was just caught with more weed than the law allows. His legal team quickly negotiated. In September, he pleaded no contest to a reduced charge of resisting arrest. The felony was dropped, and he was sentenced to 150 hours of community service. The NBA didn't suspend him, and the Kings just issued a short statement. For a guy who built a solid reputation as a tough, blue-collar big man, this was one of the few dents in his image. But he handled it and moved on. Beasley's legal issues started as early as his rookie year. In September 2008, he was part of an incident at the NBA's rookie transition program. Police were called to a hotel room after a fire alarm went off. The room reeked of marijuana, and while none was officially found, the NBA still fined Beasley $50,000 for violating policy. Things escalated from there. In June 2011, Beasley was pulled over in Minnesota for speeding. Officers found marijuana in the car. He claimed it wasn't his and got a ticket. 2 years later, in August 2013, he was arrested again, this time in Scottsdale, Arizona, for marijuana possession during another traffic stop. In 2019, Beasley faced a 5-game suspension for violating the NBA's anti-drug policy. Then came February 2025, when he was arrested at Manhattan Regional Airport. This time, it was again for marijuana possession, and he was released on a $750 bond. While none of these charges led to jail time, the pattern was clear. Beasley's legal run-ins mirrored an inconsistent NBA career, a talented player constantly disrupted by poor choices. In October 2004, Melo was cited for marijuana possession at Denver International Airport. TSA agents found a small amount in his backpack, but the story quickly shifted when Melo's friend, James Cunningham, signed an affidavit claiming it was his. Charges were dropped. Later that year, Anthony appeared in a controversial Stop Snitching DVD, a street-level video discouraging cooperation with police. Melo later distanced himself from it, saying he didn't know what it was really about when he filmed it. Then in December 2006, things got physical. During a game between the Nuggets and the Knicks, a full-on brawl erupted. Melo threw a punch and took off running. The NBA suspended him for 15 games. It was one of the longest suspensions in league history at the time. In April 2008, Anthony was arrested for suspicion of DUI. Police noticed him swerving and failing to dim his headlights. He failed a sobriety test and later pleaded guilty to driving while ability impaired. He got 1 year of probation, 24 hours of community service, and a $1,000 fine. These incidents never landed Melo in prison, but they definitely put his public image through the ringer, especially in the early stages of his career. Richardson's first major incident came in April 2003. He was arrested for domestic violence after allegedly shoving his ex-girlfriend into a wall and kicking her. The Warriors suspended him 3 games without pay. That was just the start. In November 2004, Richardson was convicted of felony child abuse. The details were sealed, but the court gave him 4 years of supervised probation. Then in December 2010 came the most serious event, vehicular homicide. Richardson was involved in a fatal car crash caused by intoxication. He was convicted and sentenced to 8 years in prison. The impact of that charge essentially ended any chance of him returning to the NBA. He also faced multiple reckless endangerment charges across Tennessee, resulting in several short jail stints. While fans once knew him for gravity-defying dunks, his off-court behavior permanently altered the way people looked at him. From rising star to a cautionary tale, Richardson's story became one of wasted potential and devastating choices. May 31st, 2013 was the day it all changed. Blaylock was driving in Clayton County, Georgia, when he crossed the center line and collided head-on with a van. Monica Murphy, a 43-year-old mother of 5, was killed. Her husband was seriously injured. Turns out, Blaylock had a long history of alcohol-related problems. Doctors had even told him not to drive due to seizures caused by alcohol withdrawal. Still, he was behind the wheel. He was charged with vehicular homicide and serious injury by vehicle. In 2014, he took a plea deal, 15 years in total, with 3 to be served in prison. The rest would be on probation. The court also mandated 1,500 hours of community service, twice weekly Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and a lifetime driving ban. Blaylock had 7 DUI arrests by then. 6 came after his NBA career. It was a tragic fall from grace for a defensive star who once led the league in steals. His story is a sobering reminder that personal demons can have real, irreversible consequences. Delonte's story might be the saddest of them all. Not because of violence, but because of how fast it all unraveled. At one point, he was a reliable role player next to LeBron in Cleveland. But behind the scenes, he was fighting bipolar disorder, addiction, and a spiral he couldn't stop. In September 2009, while riding his motorcycle in Maryland, West was pulled over for a traffic violation. But then it got bizarre. Police found not 1, not 2, but 3 loaded weapons. 1 in his waistband, 1 in a guitar case strapped to his back, and another in a backpack. He was arrested on 6 weapons charges, eventually pleading guilty and receiving 8 months of house arrest, 2 years of probation, and 40 hours of community service. Sadly, that was only the beginning. Over the next decade, Delonte would be arrested multiple times for disorderly conduct, intoxication, and trespassing. Videos surfaced of him homeless, wandering in hospital gowns or getting beaten in the street. It was heartbreaking. While Mark Cuban personally tried to help him get into rehab, West's life became a cautionary tale of how mental health, when ignored, can derail everything, even an NBA career. On October 16, 2022, Charlotte police found him unconscious inside a running car. It was parked, still in drive, and he had a Glock 23 on him. Officers tried everything: lights, sirens, even air horns, for nearly an hour before he finally woke up. But when he did, things got worse. Bouknight refused commands and ended up crashing into 2 police vehicles before being detained. His blood alcohol level was 0.14, nearly twice the legal limit in North Carolina. Because he had a pending concealed carry permit and open carry laws were in effect, he wasn't charged for the gun. This wasn't his first run-in. Between November 2021 and October 2022, Bouknight had already racked up multiple reckless driving charges. In April 2024, he pleaded guilty to impaired driving. The court gave him 12 months of unsupervised probation, 24 hours of community service, and suspended his license. After that, the Hornets waived him. From promising rookie to legal liability, Bouknight's fall was quick and brutal. His career is now a question mark, one tied to missed chances and a long list of regrets. And closing this part, PJ Tucker. Back in May 2014, Tucker was arrested in Scottsdale, Arizona. His blood alcohol level? 0.222%. That's nearly triple the legal limit. It led to a charge of extreme DUI, a more serious form due to the dangerously high BAC. He pleaded guilty and complied with all legal requirements. The NBA suspended him for 3 games to start the 2014-15 season. Since then, Tucker has stayed out of trouble. He even became a vital part of Milwaukee's 2021 championship run. Unlike others, he learned from his mistake and moved forward. But that one incident still stands as a reminder. One lapse in judgment can derail everything. You might not remember him for what he did on the court, but you'll definitely remember what he did after. George played 4 seasons in the NBA and is best known for a buzzer beater in the 1990 NCAA tournament. After retirement, he became CEO of a real estate development firm. That's when things got sketchy. In 2011, George was charged with running a Ponzi scheme that defrauded investors, many of whom were former athletes, out of over $2 million. He promised high returns through real estate deals that barely existed. In 2013, he was convicted on 4 counts of wire fraud. By 2016, he was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison and ordered to pay $2.5 million in restitution. He used his status as a former NBA player to gain trust, and then used that trust to take people's money. It wasn't a violent crime, but it was a deeply manipulative one, and it ended with George losing everything he'd built after basketball. Gill never went to prison, but he did get tangled in a legal mess that nearly got physical. In 2013, while working as a commentator for Comcast Sportsnet Chicago, Gill got into a fistfight with fellow analyst Tim Doyle after a segment ended. Reports say it wasn't a typical argument. It turned violent fast. Gill allegedly sucker-punched Doyle in the newsroom, and security had to break it up. Comcast immediately suspended him. Police were involved, and while no charges were filed, it effectively ended his broadcasting career with CSN. It wasn't a jail sentence, but it was a public fall from grace that showed how quickly tempers can ruin a second act in the NBA world. Most fans probably don't recognize the name. Griffin bounced around summer leagues and international teams, trying to break into the NBA. He signed with the Heat in 2014 and was on the verge of a real contract. But in 2016, everything changed. Griffin was arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder with a firearm after a man was shot outside a Florida apartment complex. The charges were deadly serious, and they could have meant life in prison. But Griffin insisted he was innocent, and eventually, surveillance footage proved he was nowhere near the scene. The case was dismissed. He avoided prison, but the arrest haunted his career. NBA teams lost interest. And just like that, a potential role player became a cautionary tale about how quickly a dream can derail. Curry holds one of the most tragic what-if stories in NBA history. A star out of North Carolina, he was supposed to be the next big combo guard. But before he even entered the league, trouble followed. In high school, Curry was arrested for selling drugs, including marijuana and cocaine. That incident caused North Carolina to withdraw its scholarship offer. He still made it to Oklahoma State and eventually got drafted by the Chicago Bulls in 2007. But his NBA career never took off, and in 2014, his life hit rock bottom. Curry was arrested for public intoxication, resisting arrest, and indecent exposure, allegedly urinating in public and fleeing from police. He spent a night in jail, and from there, his basketball journey ended for good. He'd never play a minute in the NBA. Talent? He had it. But the demons never let go. This one hits differently, not because of violence, but because of addiction and redemption. Herron was a high school legend in Massachusetts and played at Boston College and Fresno State. He was drafted by the Nuggets in 1999 and later played for the Celtics. But behind the scenes, Herron was addicted to cocaine, heroin, OxyContin, you name it. His substance abuse got him arrested multiple times. In 2008, he overdosed and crashed his car into a utility pole. Police found heroin in his system and in his car. He was charged with possession of narcotics and driving under the influence, facing serious jail time. He eventually entered rehab, got clean, and reinvented himself as a speaker and advocate for addiction recovery. Today, he runs the Herron Project, helping others battle addiction. He's one of the few who turned his prison stint into a platform, and now spends his life making sure others don't follow the same path. Swift was a 7-footer with massive potential, drafted 12th overall by the Seattle Supersonics in 2004. But after a few injury-plagued seasons, his life crumbled into chaos. After retiring, Swift battled addiction and financial ruin. He was evicted from his home in 2013 after defaulting on his mortgage. But what police found inside was disturbing. Guns, bullet holes in the walls, filth, beer cans, and animal feces. It looked like a war zone. Then in 2014, Swift was arrested on gun and drug charges after a raid on a home he was living in with a known heroin dealer. Police found multiple firearms, ammunition, and drugs. He was sentenced to prison and faded from the spotlight completely. From lottery pick to felon, it happened that fast. At one point, Clark was one of the NBA's most athletic shot blockers, a lanky 6'11" forward with crazy hops. But during his career, he was hiding a dark truth. He was playing drunk. In a 2013 court hearing, Clark admitted, "I never played a game sober." He said he would drink a half pint of gin before games. And after leaving the league, the addictions took over. Clark was arrested several times for weapons violations, DUI, and drug possession. In 2013, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison for gun and DUI charges. He served part of that sentence before being released early, but the damage was done. His case wasn't just about crime. It was about neglect. No one stepped in. No one helped. And a career that could have soared ended in silence. The Rain Man was known for explosive dunks and electric energy, but post-retirement, he ran into serious legal trouble. Kemp's battles with drugs were well documented during and after his career. In April 2005, he was arrested in Seattle for marijuana possession, and again in July 2006 in Houston, this time for marijuana, cocaine, and a semi-automatic pistol found in his car. Then in March 2023, Kemp was arrested again, this time for allegedly being involved in a drive-by shooting in Washington State. Initial reports sounded shocking. Kemp pulled up, exchanged gunfire, and left. But his lawyers claimed it was self-defense. He had tracked a stolen phone and confronted the thief, who fired first. Charges were eventually dropped, but the damage to his image was done. From slam dunk contests to a police holding cell, that's how far it can fall. Nicknamed the Kobe Stopper, Patterson had the reputation of a tenacious defender. But off the court, he had a deeply troubling past. In 2001, Patterson was convicted of attempted rape after forcing his children's nanny into a sexual act. He served 15 days in jail and had to register as a sex offender. That alone could have ended his career. but he returned to the NBA, and later in 2006 he was arrested again, this time for felony domestic assault against his wife. Then, in 2010, he faced additional legal issues related to custody disputes and child support. Patterson is a rare case where the NBA kept giving him chances, even after deeply serious offenses. But his name now comes up more for criminal databases than career stats. Jason, the former All-Star. We've already covered Jason Williams, but Jason's story is just as dark. In 2002, Williams was showing off a shotgun at his mansion in New Jersey during a party. The gun accidentally discharged, killing his limo driver, Kostas Gus Christofi. At first, he tried to cover it up, wiping the gun and staging the scene. It was sloppy and tragic. He was eventually convicted of aggravated assault in 2004, but not sentenced to prison until 2010 after pleading guilty to reckless manslaughter. He served 18 months in prison. Even after his release, Williams battled demons. He was arrested multiple times for DUI, bar fights, and disturbing public behavior. He later admitted to struggling with alcoholism and PTSD, and even attempted suicide. At one point, Ty Lawson was the heartbeat of the Denver Nuggets. Lightning quick, fearless in the lane, and deadly from deep, he looked like the future of the franchise. But behind the scenes, things were spiraling. Lawson's legal troubles started during his college days at UNC, but once he got to the NBA, the pattern became impossible to ignore. His first DUI arrest came in 2008, then again in 2013, and then again and again. He was arrested at least 4 separate times for DUI in different states: Colorado, California, and Washington, D.C. Each time, the warnings got louder, and each time, Lawson kept slipping. After one DUI in Denver, he was ordered to install a breathalyzer in his car. But even that didn't stop him from repeating the same behavior. The league took notice. Denver eventually gave up on him, trading him to Houston. But the damage was done. Lawson's on-court production declined sharply, and teams stopped seeing him as a reliable investment. In 2015, after another DUI arrest, he was sentenced to probation, mandatory alcohol education classes, and monitored sobriety. At one point, he was even ordered to wear a Scram bracelet, which monitors alcohol levels through sweat. The final straw came in 2020, when Lawson was banned for life from the Chinese Basketball Association after making inappropriate posts and being involved in an altercation at a club. That unofficially marked the end of his basketball career. Once a rising star, Lawson's legacy became one of wasted potential, derailed by addiction, denial, and repeated arrests. JR is one of the most chaotic players the league has ever seen, and that chaos extended well beyond the hardwood. In 2007, Smith was involved in a tragic car accident in New Jersey. He was driving a friend, Andre Bell, when he ran a stop sign and collided with another vehicle. Smith and Bell were both ejected from the car, and Bell died from his injuries. Smith wasn't drunk or high, but he was reckless. He had over 27 traffic violations at the time. He was eventually charged with vehicular manslaughter, pleaded guilty to reckless driving, and served 24 days in jail out of a 90-day sentence. That incident marked a turning point, but it wasn't the end of his legal problems. In the years following, JR had multiple arrests and citations for things like driving without a license, failing to appear in court, and altercations at nightclubs. In 2012, he was fined for posting inappropriate photos on Twitter, and in 2015, he was involved in a lawsuit for choking and threatening a teenager outside a pizzeria. To his credit, JR found some redemption later in his career. He became a key piece in LeBron's Cavaliers, even winning a championship in 2016. But that moment of glory couldn't erase the chaos that came before it, or the lives impacted along the way. He's remembered as much for the buzzer-beater blunders and off-court drama as he is for his talent. Rozier's story is lesser known, but it's no less tragic. A first-round pick in 1994, Rozier played 4 seasons in the NBA with teams like the Golden State Warriors and Minnesota Timberwolves. He was a 6'11" big man with promise, but he never quite found his footing in the league. After leaving the NBA, Rozier's life unraveled. He struggled with mental health issues, substance abuse, and legal troubles. In the 2000s, he was arrested multiple times for theft, drug possession, and battery. At one point, he was homeless, living in shelters, or sleeping in his car. If there's ever been a case that encapsulates wasted potential, it's this one. Roy Tarpley was a walking double-double with incredible skill. He was the 1986 Sixth Man of the Year, and by his second season with the Dallas Mavericks, he was a borderline superstar. But drugs took everything from him. Tarpley was suspended in 1991 for violating the NBA's substance abuse policy, then suspended again, and again. Finally, in 1995, the league banned him for life. His issues weren't just league violations, they were criminal. Tarpley was arrested several times for DUI, resisting arrest, and domestic violence. He entered rehab, relapsed, entered again, and relapsed again. He briefly attempted comebacks in Greece and the CBA, but nothing stuck. The NBA never reinstated him, and his life spiraled. In 2015, Roy Tarpley died at age 50 from liver failure. The league issued a short statement. That was it. What makes Tarpley's story so tragic is how dominant he could have been. Teammates said he had Hall of Fame talent. But in the end, his name became another cautionary tale, not a celebrated legacy. This one hurts. Francis was a fan favorite, explosive, passionate, fun. The franchise, as they called him, was a three-time All-Star with the Houston Rockets and one of the most electrifying guards of the early 2000s. But after his career ended, the fall came fast. Francis admitted in interviews that he struggled with alcohol, depression, and trauma from childhood abuse. He lost his mother at a young age and carried that pain with him. When the NBA spotlight faded, the emptiness grew. In 2016, Francis was arrested for burglary and DUI. Police said he broke into a woman's car and tried to steal valuables. He also faced charges for threatening a nightclub employee and resisting arrest. He looked nothing like the player fans remembered, bloated, disheveled, and clearly suffering. Francis later published a piece titled, "How I Lost Myself," detailing his struggles with fame, addiction, and identity. It was raw, honest, and heartbreaking. Unlike others on this list, Francis is still fighting. He's trying to rebuild his life, stay clean, and help others. But the fall from glory is undeniable. From slam dunk contests to mugshots, that's how fast it all changed.